Hello, viewers. You are watching the Policy Times, India's only and exclusive show on policy issues, India Policy Show. I'm really honored to have the dignitaries from abroad, especially from Malaysia, to have in this show. Before human came on this the earth was here and it was enriched with tree, river, sea, and millions of different species. And it was very, very rich and healthy as the numbers of human grew, the exploration and exploitation of the environment and the climate went on increasing. With the rise of industrialization, it started even threatening the environment, threatening the species, which now we call as many endangered species. So today on 22nd April, when we meet you, when we are discussing with you, the world is in fact celebrating the Earth Day, the 58th Earth Day. And on this occasion, I thought to bring our experts from different countries to talk how and why this Earth Day is important and what can we achieve through this Earth Day and what is the purpose of this Earth Day. All before that, because we started this series of conversation on the occasion of the corona epidemic which has devastated and made the entire world stand still, let me just present some facts. The corona total infected cases have touched 2.57 million and the death toll reaching around 178,863. The number of cases in United States has crossed 800,000, followed by Spain, Italy, and other countries. Talking about India, for the first time, India became the 17th country to cross 20,000 infected cases, and the total death toll reached around 653. So the India is also like the warning is there, the signal is coming that India is becoming a very scary country in the forms of number of cases as the numbers are increasing. Now, Donald Trump has, as we very well know, that he comes up with a very bold statement. He threatened Harvard University to return back the millions of dollars the American government gives to Harvard to find a virus 8 or virus in a vaccine. So he said that Harvard, you pay that money back. I want Harvard to pay money back. So if you don't pay us, we will take action against you. That's the statement that shortly after his speech, Harvard replied saying that you have allocated us $8.6 million only, but you have given $2.2 trillion bailout package to your industry. Now coming to United Nations chief said that on the Earth Day when he gave the message, he said that where taxpayers' money is used to rescue businesses, it needs to be tied to achieving green jobs, sustainable growth, and public funds should be used to invest in the future, not in the not in the past, and flow to sustainable sectors and projects that can help the environment and climate change. That's how what he said. Now, for viewers, I just want to give a brief about the what is the definition of climate change and how the Earth came. Before that, let me just welcome and introduce our distinguished speaker. So, Policy Times, in partnership with the Department of Environment and Engineering at University of Tun Hussein Un, Malaysia, we thought to come up with a series of episodes on sustainability and climate change issues. And I'm honored to introduce Dr. Norzila Binti Othman, the Associate Professor at the University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. Dr. Azra M. Daud, she's also part of the senior lecture. She's a senior lecturer, Department of Water and Engineering at University of Tun Hussein on Malaysia. Mohammed J.K. Bashir, welcome, Mr. Dr. Bashir, Associate Professor at Department of Environment and Engineering, University Tun Abdul Rahman. And with us, we have Dr. Professor Ujjwal K. Chowdhury, Prof. Adamas University. In 1970, the US Senator Gaylord Lenson from Wisconsin, he led 20 million Americans on the street, which is 10% of American population, to bring the attention towards protecting the planet, fighting for the climate change. And that was the day in 1970, the concept of Earth Day came. And then with this, I want to come. And why should we talk about Earth Day? Because the human and environment cost of climate change and sustainability issues is devastating. And there are a couple of facts I want to present, and then I'll come to Professor Chowdhury. Number one, the flood that we saw in 2017 took 1,200 lives, and it displaced around 20 million population with 6.8 million children within South Asia. 1,800 schools were destroyed, which actually threatened the education of a large, in fact, millions of underprivileged kids. Professor Chowdhury, I want to come to you with this very basic question. We are celebrating Earth Day today. Your view on why should we celebrate it? How should we celebrate it?
First of all, welcome to our friends from abroad. Because I heard that there are friends from Malaysia, so I took out my Malaysian cert, which I bought long back from Kuala Lumpur.
How nice of you.
Thank you, ma'am. So yes, we are going through a very tough time. All of us are together. This is perhaps a very rare occasion that the whole world is together in one single fight, and therefore the celebration of Earth Day is all the more important because we are in a situation which this earth has hardly seen, and any of us in our lifetime have not seen. So one invisible virus has made individual action more visible today. So far, the individual actions were considered to be insignificant. So we were like victims of a system. Can I request everyone to mute their mics? There is a background sound, and whoever speaks can unmute and speak. So yeah, moving ahead, the individual actions are always considered less effective because we are supposed to be individually a victim of the system. Actions were considered to be insignificant. Our individual acts or actions are more visible today because everyone is supposed to be in lockdown, or everyone is supposed to be using masks, everyone is supposed to have certain protection gear. So collective action against COVID or against coronavirus may actually bring collective action on climate change ahead. For the first time, mankind is taking a collective action. All 7.7 billion people together are in a battle. And that might first time give a desire or a possibility of a collective action on climate change. Because anytime any discussion on collective climate change was there, some people will believe it very strongly, some will not, and some will be lost in between. Systems thinking has come. That is important. And that will give a lease of life to Earth, is what my point is. COVID gives a transformative narrative from individual to collective. This ecosystem being connected, this transformative narrative. So far it was what I do in my life, in my home or in my university does not matter to the whole world, was a way of looking at things. But today, every small ecosystem is an integral part of the larger ecosystem is proven. It was always like that, but it is proven all the more. And an isolated climate change or environment damage like happening in Australian forests or in Brazilian forest, Amazon forest, or in some coral in some ocean. So these isolated damages could not evoke an entire world's response. Today, there is an entire world response. And therefore, you as environmentalists, those who are experts in the subject, have to come forth with a sort of a panacea or with a sort of a plan of action for the entire earth. This Earth Day is therefore so much important today. We need to actually stop food wastage. And individuals' food wastage is connected to climate change. We need to consume less. I find no reason why a rich kid sitting in New York should buy a denim every month when the last 11 denims are already in place. And for providing that denim, the garment producer in Bangladesh exploits the workers and exploits the water and exploits the nature to produce it cheap. Therefore, there is a need for a movement of ethical garments. I am proud to wear my Malaysian dress which I bought 9 years ago when I was in Kuala Lumpur. Still, it is good to use for a beautiful moment like this when I'm digitally meeting three Malaysian friends. So the point is, there is no need to be greedy the way we are. As my father of my country, Mahatma Gandhi, said, the world has enough for everyone's need, but not enough for one man's greed. And we can see such greed, whether among the leaders of China or USA, or whether among individuals in our families or around. The greed is enormous. This coronavirus tells the greed has to be limited. If this earth has to be left for our grandchildren, consumption has to go down. Indiscriminate capitalism, I must say, you must read this article by Philip Kotler. Day before yesterday, he has put it online on the marketing in the context of coronavirus. And he has said that indiscriminate capitalism requires a continuous market for continuous sale. And for that continuous sale, marketing has to continue, advertising, public relation, or luring people has to continue. There is no need. Much of the things we buy are not needed. Are we dead now when we are in lockdown, depending on home food, depending on the clothes that we already have, depending on digital communication? Are we dead? We are actually better. We are health-wise better. The world cannot go like this. I understand farming has to happen. Iron and steel has to be produced. The core sector has to happen. But as a quality of life, we are actually having a better quality of life now. Go like this, the earth really needs a break. And it is good that the Policy Times has picked up this topic today, has brought in experts from two countries, and bringing forth, reinforcing that a systemic narrative has to come. The individual's choice is connected to the civilizational choice. The mankind and the individual for the first time has come on one line as never before in the last 100 years. The public health, the investment on public health has to increase. The investment on, do you know the total investment in public health in the world? In an $80 trillion global economy, it is 1.5%. It is 1.5%, can you believe? That is around 1 trillion. Such an important thing like health has only $1 trillion in the whole world, when the world earns $80 trillion. In my country, it is not even 2%. Some countries are there with a higher investment. We need 5% of the world economy to be given to public health. 5% of the world economy to be given to public education. Then only the quality of life would increase. I would like to end here and listen to other colleagues as we go ahead.
As usual, bold statement and bold declaration from Professor Chowdhury on how consumption is his main warning point. So as and consumption, when we talk, the conspicuous consumption that leads to this unsustainable economic growth. I'll come to my other panelists with the simple question. We are celebrating 50 years of Earth Day. What have we achieved till now? What are the gains? What have we made later, and what have we made worse? Maybe starting with Dr. Bashir. Yeah, if you can unmute yourself and speak. We still can't hear you, Dr. Bashir. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me to join this special day, the Earth Day, and to join in this very important discussion, which affect each individual of us and our countries as well. Today is a special day, yes, because today we are celebrating the 50th anniversary Earth Day. And it's a good opportunity to connect and talk together about how to save our nature, plant, land, which are very connected to our health, right? Because we can see, as Prof. Chowdhury mentioned just now, the impact of small virus maybe started from farm or from shopping market, wet market, how change the face of the world, correct? Absolutely. So small virus started from certain contaminated place, it changed the face of the world, and we can see a huge impact right, on that one, which we never see due to the climate change before. So we're supposed to take action long time ago. We never take that serious action, but now we can see some serious action against this virus. We hope that this action will be continued for other serious matter like climate change. The various issue might be ended this year, next year, I think will be ended. But maybe other viruses or other problem will come again due to our bad habits, which would say the human bad habits on handling the earth and the nature. So let me explain something here. I agree with the point that the investment is high, but for this time, unfortunately, the investment moved totally toward how to fight this COVID virus and so on. So people are less thinking about climate change because the direction of the money from the government moved to another sector, how to improve the health and so on, and how to protect industry from collapse. So now just to remind the people here and the audience that for the 15th anniversary of the Earth Day, what we should do, just to remind ourselves, what we should do, this will contribute to many points, including climate change, including sustainable life, including fighting contamination, pollution, and such diseases. So one of the things that we need to do is, of course, we need to reduce consumption. We need to reduce consumption. When we reduce consumption, we will need to, in fact, we make more balanced distribution in this world. We need to do recycling of used product. We need to recycle our food waste, and we need to recycle our plastic, other material, instead of throw it into the landfill. I think most of the people know now more than 80% of the waste, most of the country worldwide going to the landfill, even without any biogas production. Yes, since the Paris Agreement in 2015, we can see some movement in enhancing renewable energy, increasing the production of renewable energy. But if you talk about other things contributing to climate change, there is not much change. Other things that we need to recommend for our people is actually to use native things instead of bringing product from faraway country related to fruit and so on, to have our own farm, our own product, our native product in our countries, and also to have the things in our own garden, organic food. We need to save our water and to conserve it. Maybe a good point nowadays that many rivers getting better situation.
Right. I think
now another hand.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So
the slide.
So food waste, if we talk about the waste now, there's air pollution getting less, actually. Air quality is getting better. And then if we talk about the river quality getting better because less pollution from the industry. But however, we have more clinical waste now. We have more other type of waste that is challenging. So we need to solve those kind of issues. So of course, water is very essential issue. And now this is one of the targeted research area. We need to know if our water contaminated with this virus or other type of medical or health contaminants. So it's, I think, very critical issue to address based on the recent challenges.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bashir. I'll come to Dr. Azra. It's been 50 years. A lot of countries and a lot of international organizations are advocating and investing. What have we achieved and what are yet to achieve?
In terms of?
In terms of advocacy, in terms of in any format, like Do you think that we have achieved something by now in the climate change aspect? Are we able to clean more air? Do we have cleaner air? Do we have better healthy living style? Do we have better access to water, save water? So these are the, are we fighting epidemics like flood or drought in a better way today than we were fighting before? So what have we achieved?
Okay. First of all, can you hear me?
Yes, we can very much hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for the organizing committee, for the organizer for inviting me to this 50th birthday celebration, the anniversary, and I'm honored to join all of you as one of the panelists for this session. Okay. So like what we already know nowadays, we are actually got attacked by the coronavirus, and actually if we take it in the on the positive side, we can see that the coronavirus already has taught us so many things. Okay, Prof just now said, we are the victim of our system. Never realized before. We never realized it before, and then now is the time for us to reflect our bad ways. Okay, so it's like the earth is giving a sign for us that we already reached the limit. Okay, so I think we better start with a good lifestyle, like now during the what we call movement order, and everyone to have to stay indoor and everything, so that we are actually contributing a bit of our contribution to the environment, to the healing, to heal the nature. I mean, so back to your question, like what we need to do in terms of healing the nature. We actually, like, even though we are separate globally in different countries, different regions, but actually we are part of the ecosystem. Okay, if we are actually proceed with our bad habits, still greedy, we are still selfish, they not stop our the devastated everything, the devastated disaster like drought, sea flood, and everything. Okay, so like we ask ourselves, we can contribute to the nature again. So from the individual part as well, we can do like for this 50 Earth Day, anniversary Earth Day. Basically, we can start with ourselves, like promote environmental awareness to the community and aspire to remind all the people the importance of protecting the earth and to appreciate the nature. So at the end, what we give get back, so that it never be doing in one way. So what we give to the nature, and the nature will treat us nicely. Okay, like we know that no such thing as free lunch. That is the fourth law of ecology. Okay, so everything extracted from the nature must be paid to the nature. Okay, it will never be free for that.
I totally agree with this point. Like we have taken our nature for granted. We thought that we can explore it, we can exploit it to our fancy and wish, but we don't think that everything has a give and take relationship. So if we take it, we have to give it back too. Dr.
Yes.
Norzila Binti Othman, I want to come to you with a very simple this thing that, yeah, very much true. And then at our individual level, as Dr. Bashir said, that a virus coming from a remote corner has isolated the entire world today, 7 billion population today. So at our individual level, how can we contribute to the society? How can we contribute to the environment, to the causes of protecting the environment? With your opening remarks, basically.
Yes. Thank you for the organizer. Okay, thank you also to the panels that are sharing your ideas today. Okay, I'm Norzila from UTHM. Basically, from my point of view, this coronavirus might look very interfere in terms of worsen the healthcare of all people. But if we look at how to tie up the corona with our team in celebrating the Earth Day, as individual people, due to lockdown, due to movement control order, all people are forced to stay at home. So we got no choice. We have to stay at home. And I think that all countries are practicing the same. During this lockdown, only essential services are allowed to be operated. So let's tie up the individual's attempt with the global issues of greenhouse gases and other things. So in that case, if we are stay at home, so I think in terms of environment, we already aware that the three components of environment, that is water, air, and soil, they are interrelated within each other. So when most people have to tie up their self at home, you don't use vehicles to move out, to go to work, to do your social activities. So in this case, it's not only individuals, but very few industries are allowed to operate their activities. So in a good attempt, this virus actually show a very good relief to environment. Very rare. I think in many countries, the government agency, university, schools are practicing many awareness campaign. I cannot deny that. So, but up to what extent we can success in doing that? Look at our scenario today. If we look at in the TV, how does we can see that the earth looks like breathing well when all individual keeping themselves at home. Uh, Even at a very big city, very rare we can see the skies. The blue skies in the morning, the blue skies until the evening is a very rare thing. But what happened today? The skies appears. So I think positive slide of the corona towards the environment. It gives the world to breathe well. Yes, to breathe well in their
Dr.
own way.
Norzila, Dr.
Yeah.
Norzila, my question is that thinking about after lockdown, after the oven, things will change again to the normal habit, right? So our role as a researcher, how to encourage people to continue the normal life, because this is abnormal. How to continue the normal life with less consumption, less contamination, more policy and decision maker to take action to improve our life, because this is abnormal. We must go to the normal life later. So this decision maker have to study this carefully.
Right.
Sky turn to clean, river become better, right?
Yes, become more cleaner.
How we will continue without giving negative impact to the production, because the people need to survive. And another challenge, although this virus brings something positive to the environment in terms of air pollution, in terms of water quality relatively, because we don't know about the virus spread in the water, it's still under investigation. What will happen to the medical waste? For your information, I just searched a little bit about what happened in China. I found that hospitals in Wuhan produce 6 times higher production of medical waste during that stage. 6 times. And medical waste is very toxic. So this is also negative impact, which provide a big room for us as a researcher in the environment and environmentalists to study about different aspects. That is the real challenge of us.
Yes.
Normal people should be isolated. For us, we should start our research.
Yes, definitely I agree with you. What I planned is just now. I used to say a positive thing first because it will motivate us as the environmentalist lovers. So look at the
Exactly.
positive
Okay.
aspect of
Let me just finish the opening remarks and then we'll come to the discussion. Dr. Vinod Kumar Jain, who is the Vice-Chancellor, VC at Tezpur University, joining us also. Sir, if you can hold your mobile in the horizontal format so that we can see you more in a better way. So your opening comment, given that the importance and urgency to address this issue, what message would you like to give us to our audience, sir? So if you can unmute first. Okay.
Mute?
I have unmuted you now. Please go on.
Yeah. See, one thing is very clear that this crisis, which has gripped practically all the countries of the world, has demonstrated one thing, that if the, you look at the contamination of air or water or soil or waste problem, these are the four more important aspects as far as the environmental degradation is concerned. Because all of us now practically in all countries are under lockdown. So one can easily see that as a result, some of these systems now have become much more cleaner. This goes on to say, it goes on to show that, if our lifestyles or if our, the society, the way they are functioning, they are so resource intensive that we have to in future see to it that our resource consumption is optimal, because there can't be a better demonstration how the environmental uh, uh, ecosystems, subsystems get contaminated, get polluted as a result of anthropogenic activities. And one thing is also very clear, that what happens in one part of the world has a bearing practically all over the globe. So we are in that sense connected with each other. Our destinies, our lives are interconnected, and therefore it is important that the world community cooperates and collaborate on some of these serious issues, whether it is COVID-19 or whether it is climate change or the impact of climate change. I think the world community has to come together to address.
Thank you. Excellent. I think I would request all of our speakers to come in and make bullet points so that we save more time and we cover more points. Dr. Chowdhury, maybe, yeah, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to respond to a very important question also raised by Dr. Bashir, Mohammed Bashir. First of all, good to see Professor Vinod Jain. I am seeing you after a very long time. Good to see you, sir. So coming back, Dr. Bashir has asked how this is abnormal time. How after return to normal, how can we protect the environment? My simple answer to that is, we as researchers and the policymakers should note that there is another way of doing things that we do. For example, Vinod Jain sir is a Vice Chancellor in the university. I am Pro Vice Chancellor in Adamas University. We have 5 or 6 days a week operation. We can turn it to 3 days physical and 3 days virtual. And it can be easily done. There are universities in the world who are functioning 3 days. The whole university need not be. The point is, alternative batches can come. Some batches can come for 3 days, some batches can come for other 3 days. And the batches which are at home on the 3 days can have virtual or digital learning. We can bring down carbon emission very much. Similarly, in hospitals, in offices, in IT companies, a large part of the work can be done work from home. Just now, the test or experiment is being done across the world. Even with respect to core sector, where production is there, automobile production and all, we also need to know, does the world need so many automobiles? That's another point. At this point of time in India, 56,000 crores worth vehicles are standing idle, not because of pandemic, much before pandemic, because of economic slowdown. So the point is, there is not the necessity of so much of consumption as we think. As I was telling a little earlier, that an average American boy acquires one denim every month, whereas he does not need it. And to acquire that, the production is done in Bangladesh, harming the environment. So we need to go to new lifestyles, new food habits. Even the food habits that we have, junk food and many others, are not sustainable food habits. And much of the food that we waste is actually causing carbon emission. So it is important that researchers tell the world, tell the decision makers to come out with policies which institutionalizes lower carbon emission operations which require lower carbon emission. Much of this can be done digitally, virtually, and in a staggered manner. Staggered manner is the important part
Thank
that
you.
we have to look at.
Right. I just want to read a report survey done by Gallup. It says that nearly 63% people worldwide in 2019, they are very satisfied with the efforts that their respective governments have taken to preserve and protect their environments. And that ranged widely from Lebanon 10% to as high as 93% in United Arab Emirates. And all the other countries fall in between. So somewhere it gives an impression that largely people are satisfied with the climate change actions taken by their respective government. Can you give us an account about what has been the achievements of international organizations and national governments? What are the unique initiatives taken by different governments in terms of protecting and preserving environment? It is open to all. Kindly make your points in bullet points. Whoever wants to speak can raise your hand or start talking.
Can I say something on this?
Yeah. Professor Jain.
Yeah. See, if you look at the Paris Agreement, now in that agreement, all the countries have voluntarily declared their INDCs, intended nationally determined contributions. And if you look at Indian blueprint or climate action plan of India, there is a great deal of emphasis on developing your renewable energy sector. And if I could just give you some numbers, the Indian government has a target to have 40% of the renewable energy share in the total energy mix by 2030. Now, that would entail a great deal of development of solar as well as wind energy systems. And if you look at the other points in that action plan, apart from developing solar energy and the wind energy systems, you also have energy efficient buildings. You have water mission, that is the enhancement of the efficiency of the usage of water. There is green agriculture. Then there is this Himalayan ecosystem. So there are host of issues, which are being addressed under the climate action plan of individual governments. And although if you look at the world level, there is a general feeling that the governments have to do much more than what they are currently doing. Although most of the governments do have best of the intentions right now, but still that is not enough. That is not enough.
Because thank you. From the any points you want to cover?
No, that's okay.
Thank you. I want to come to the ASEAN part of it. How have been the ASEAN countries, especially Malaysia, Indonesia, successful in terms of addressing this issue? Yeah. So you please keep you unmute yourself.
Okay, let me explain. I agree with the professor just now. Since the Paris Agreement started or adopted in 2015, just reading one of the newspaper, what is the action taken by country? Are there any action by other country? The answer is yes, there is responding by countries, but maybe not sufficient. The most noticeable progress done in terms of renewable energy. That is the things that we can see, especially in many countries, including maybe India, European country, and so on, where even some of them produce zero waste because it's totally converted to energy. So in terms of renewable energy, yes, But I would look also to the intention. Sometimes the intention is not because of the environment. Sometimes it's because of the energy cost and how to adopt. So, for example, country like Malaysia, we have a lot of resources for renewable energy, but still because petroleum and biogas and natural gas are available in Malaysia, we are not taking very, very strong action to move toward renewable energy. It's slow, although the potential is high. Why? Because if the petroleum product is there. But if the petroleum product is less, like in Korea, then they will push to more diversity to renewable energy and more to feed-in tariff. So this is also connected to each other, the cost and availability of the resources. So this is very related. Although I would say, even in Malaysia and in Indonesia, they are moving toward renewable energy, but it's slower than some other country who has no resources in terms of petroleum product and natural gases. But in terms of the action, yes, there is action. People now moving to electrical car, especially in Europe, moving slowly. And this is, I think, will reduce the green gas emission. Things are moving into industrial 4. If we talk about industrial 4, that means more robotic, less gas production, less engine, and so on. So in that case, I think based on the new technology, things can be better.
Excellent.
Very quickly, one example I want to give in continuation with Dr. Bashir. 92% of the vehicles in Israel do not run on petroleum or fossil fuel. They run on many other batteries, solar, and many other biomass and all, but not on fossil fuel. And similarly, 21% of Nepal's total power requirement is done from solar. All the homes heating is largely done through solar. They have problem in the winter months sometimes. That's a different issue when the solar energy is sun is less available. But because it's on the hills, 21% is already solar. So what I wanted to say is that and these two places have not done it because out of love of environment. The solar is cheaper in case of Nepal. In case of Israel, dependency on Arab fossil fuel to be reduced, they went into the non-fossil fuel energy. So what is important here, the message I wanted to give, is that the environmentalist lobby or sustainable lobby should not only talk of the moral responsibility of going green, which is right, which you and I will agree, but we should also look at or show how it is cheaper, financially better, health-wise better, because we have to attract people from the money, health, as well as the moral high is our point.
That was the point that I was coming up with as the next question. But before that, I wanted to have Dr. Azra and Dr. Norzila to comment on how your governments or neighboring countries' governments are responding and performing on the issue of climate change.
Okay, let me talk first. Like for our government, they are already take some actions. Sorry, but before that, I would like to respond to Dr. Bashir just now said the China.
Dr. Azra, don't move. If you can stick and then speak, that will, I think, consume less internet of yours. And then.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now.
Yeah, it's better. Please go on.
It's better. Okay. So I'd like to respond to Dr. Bashir just now. In Malaysia as well, in terms of the clinical waste, Malaysia has increased about 17% of clinical waste during this pandemic era. So that the government has provided 12 institutions to dispose all the clinical waste during this pandemic. And then from this is so the negative in terms of the COVID-19. So the positive side we already talked about just now, but sometimes also we have the negative side. Okay, so in terms of the environmental aspect, Malaysian government already take many acts like revising the policy of the environmental quality. For example, like we have problems sometimes between Malaysia and Indonesia in terms of air pollution. sometimes because we are very close to each other, we are next to next. If it happen to pollute the air, so the Indonesia also will get it from us. And if Indonesia pollute the air, then we also can get the impact in Malaysia as well. So the governments are already revised, coming out probably this year about the transboundary regulations. So it should be it should be better after this. And so many actions like we are actually enforcing and also enforcing regulations to the community. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Internet connection, I think there's a little.
Yes, it's stable just now, internet connection.
No, fine, it's fine. So, did you complete your point? Then I'll come to Dr. Norzila.
Yes, a little bit more. So we are actually enforcing the regulations through the community. Whoever burnings, do the open burning, and we will strictly fine that party. And also we have the revised version of the common to the Malaysian citizen whoever broke the rules.
A couple of
yeah.
Dr. Norzila, your view on this subject, and then I'll come with a very critical question.
Thank you, Mr. Akrab. So, in my point of view, a part of university, we must take a very positive actions toward reducing all the environmental pollutions, not just during this pandemic COVID-19, but after this. I just want to give an example in the case of my own institutions, UTHM, what we did with the student. As a university, we must show our highly responsibilities to the public. What we did so far during in the past and until now, we are practicing with the students like during the Earth Day, outdoors activities like planting more trees around the campus, and then reducing numbers of cars. We make campaign towards the student last time. And then in terms of food waste, actually, we are in line with what Dr. Bashir told just now, whereby through our subjects, we bring the student go to the nearby schools around the campus. Through with them, we will promote the composting activities in schooling, so that we will go together with the school student doing the backyard composting. That is what we did. I can see that improvements of the school student awareness, where they can show that some of the schools, they even sell their fertilizer, and they even can use that and then they grow their own vegetables in the school's compound. But that is in the positive point of view. Even we want to reduce the food waste, we should, as the university's individual, we should show a very good example to the rest of the communities around us.
Absolutely.
So, in terms of the air pollution as well, like what my peers say, Dr. Azra, we will support government agencies enhancing awareness if there are problems related to air pollution, water pollution. We will go down to help them, not even monitoring, give the technical advice. As the university, we must be able to give technical advice, cause of the problems. That is what we did. So it's not only me. I have about 26 years.
Taken at the university level. I want to present some facts, small facts, which will give some idea what is the economic cost of it. The hurricanes Harvey and Irma caused around $200 billion damage in Texas and Florida. In California, wildfire has cost around $65 billion. If no actions are taken today, it is said that some researchers are predicting 140 million people might have to migrate. There'll be this climate change migrated people. if the actions are taken, then 80% of these migrated people can be saved. The other angle I want to bring here, and then after that, I would request all our speakers to kindly make 5-point or 10-point action agenda, because this year, 2000 theme of Earth Day this year is action plan. Now, I would request all of you to give 5 or 10 points agenda as to how can we fight it. That will be the last question. Before that, I want to just bring a very different perspective, is that indigenous people population in the earth, on earth is 5%, but they support and protect 80% of the planet's biodiversity. I think we rarely talk about the contribution of indigenous population. Your comment on that? How do we give more, how do we empower indigenous population, how do we give more space, more freedom, so that through them the biodiversity can be more protected? Dr. Jain, maybe if you can start.
Well, you see, this has to be done at the policy level. And I think the government of India, I can speak for the government, I mean, what action they have taken. And they have, to a great extent, empowered our tribal people. There have been some success stories in some states that the forest cover has actually increased a bit. But yes, that 33% is still, we have not reached. So the loss of biodiversity mainly is on account of deforestation. And but if you look at the government's policies, or all the state governments and the central government, they are on the same page as far as the empowerment of the tribal people is concerned.
Excellent. Dr. Bashir and our guest, would you like to comment on this? Anyone who would like to comment? The contribution and how do we protect indigenous community?
I think deforestation is the main issue here when we talk about those people, because by deforestation, we move other people to that area. So those original people losing their original land, so they are moving to another area or another society that they are not familiar with, and then they are losing their stability. So the main issue here, I think, is the deforestation.
We need to address that. Dr. Azra, Dr. Norzila, would you like to comment on how do we protect indigenous? Because yes, Australia, America, the Latin America, even Asia has a large number of this indigenous population.
Yes, in the case of Malaysia, we have about 10 to about 13% of indigenous out of our total population in Malaysia. Right. So I think in Malaysia, we have Jabatan Orang Asli. This organization, they taking care of the indigenous people in Malaysia. But as a normal people, we must take a very good example from those indigenous people in Malaysia, whereby how they can survive themselves by using natural resources, but not destructing the resources. They really can survive. Right. In terms of having good water, clean air, and as well as all medications, they get it naturally, but yet they can survive in their own life. So government of Malaysia taking very well care of all indigenous people that are, that are staying in their own region in many states in Malaysia, not only in Peninsula as well as Sabah, Sarawak, as well as Sabah and Sarawak. Then if they can survive, why can't we try to motivate ourselves to conserve? Due to this pandemic, I think it's a very good lesson to us to conserve our environment, because of course we don't want to be tightened up in the house for very long. We want to do our normal activities as usual. So it's a very good lesson. If other people that staying in a remote area can survive, we must try our best to conserve our environment in terms of three entities like water, air, as well as soil. That is my opinion.
Excellent. Dr. Azra, would you like to add? unmute yourself. And
Yes, can I add?
Yes, please.
Yes, I agree with my colleague, Dr. Norzila, just now. They are actually survive in their own nature surroundings. But in our parts, to add, in our parts, we know that the indigenous people are still surviving using the natural resources. So in our parts, we actually know our role. We must take care of the nature, the stream water, because we know that the indigenous people still get the fish and the food from the river, from the sea. So if we happen to pollute the river and the sea, they might be like we are not protecting them as well. Okay, we are actually put them in the harmful because they are actually getting the food from the contaminated water. For example, if we if we do deforestation, then we're not preserving the forest. For example, whereby we know that indigenous people rely too much on the trees, on the forest to for their their housing, their economic view, and also their medication. So if we not take care, do not take the forest, then actually we are nothing them. Okay, that's my opinion.
Dr. Chowdhury, would you like to add?
I would like to overall answer to your bullet points for the policy, in which there is a point on indigenous also, if you don't mind, and that could be my last comment on the show today. First of all, bring in institutionalized work from home. Much of the work can be done from home, and there are many operations which do not need daily commuting. Second, quick movement to renewable resources, renewable energy. Sorry, as Dr. Jain has just now said, that the goal of 40% renewable energy by in the next 10 years is there, and that can only happen at this point of time. We are dependent on non-renewable for almost 98% of our energy needs. Only 2% is there. So we have to really move fast to bring it. That's for India, but worldwide, many countries have higher renewable energy quota or rather use. Third, banning flora and fauna damage and coastal region damage. Now there are rules up to 300 meters or so in coastal region construction cannot be done. But you go to Goa, you go to other places like Pondicherry and all, see how many coastal region, within 300 meters, how many temporary hotels and other things have come. So a strict law of banning destruction of flora and fauna and coastal region is important. Anti-consumerism movement, India and similarly all developing worlds, and more so the developed world, requires an anti-consumerism. Some people can tell it is a veganism. Some people can talk about recycle, upscale, reuse, whatever the terms you use. But anti-consumerism movement just now is required world over. Encouraging natural therapies. Now, for the slightest of things, we are in a habit of popping chemical, medicines. So, in extreme cases, a different thing. But encouraging natural therapies. India is a home to many natural therapies. It is only the pharma companies which gain not our bodies by resorting to only chemical medicines. And encouraging digital business. Digital education, digital evaluation, digital medical medicines. Medical services also can be digitized. Digital services of retail. So digital can be in media, can go largely digital. So a lot of businesses can go digital. Population control, this is very significant. We can't help. Some of the countries really need, like India. There was a movement in India once upon a time, hum do, hamare do. We are two and we have 2 children. It is very significant to understand the world must achieve zero population growth now, going ahead. The issue is that some study has shown that the optimum population for the world was around 5 billion. We are 7.7 billion. And in next 10 years, it is expected to cross 10 billion. This is impossible to sustain and feed because the arable land will not increase. Sharp rise in disincentives in private transport. Now, I went to Singapore. I found that in Singapore, they have huge taxes on fuel so that people don't use private transport. In Nepal, they have 300% tax on the price of a car. Do you believe that? If the car is costing 10 rupees, the tax is 30 rupees so that people don't buy cars and depend on. But simultaneously, there has to be better public transport everywhere. So better quality of public transport coupled with disincentives in private transport and integrate travels in the mainstream. This whole approach of museum approach to keep tribals as a museum product is a very wrong, or indigenous people as a museum product is wrong. Their culture has to be respected. I don't say bringing them into mainstream is disrespecting their culture, but they need not be treated separately. But their resources, their cultures have to be respected. So decentralization of marketing, decentralization of resource utilization, decentralization of benefits, and bringing healthcare and other amenities down to the unit level, that is the village. This India had this whole culture of primary health center. Unfortunately, this hasn't. I mean, large part of it is in a bad shape. So we need to go back to those basic, and Gram Swaraj, which India has already spoken of already, self-reliance at the village level. Gram Swaraj can bring back the dignity of the nature and protection of the nature. These are my suggestions for action plan on Earth
What
Day.
is the percentage of GDP would you like to contribute for the sustainability and climate change?
The point is that there has to be a green aspect in every aspect of life. Percentage wise, I am not getting into. For example, medicines or healthcare can turn largely green. Education can turn largely green. Environment can turn largely green. That's the point. Style, fashion can turn largely green. So there has to be a green component in every aspect of life.
Quick bullet points format. What are the action agenda would you like to suggest to the governments? Maybe Dr. Jain, if you like to start.
Yeah.
Quickly,
Professor mentioned about reducing our carbon footprint. He did talk about how to increase the solar, the renewable energy usage. He also talked about public transport rather than an individual transport. I would submit that in most of the universities today in our country, for example, in India, we have 800 plus universities. I think if each university makes it mandatory that the students, for example, will not use motorized transport. I mean, it's a very small thing, but it will go a long way in creating not only awareness, but in reducing the carbon emissions. So basically, the first point I want to make is that let us reduce our carbon footprint to the extent possible. The second point you also mentioned in your opening remarks when you said that some of these extreme weather events, the cost or the damage is huge, and even the issues of climate refugees, how to rehabilitate them and so on. So if you compare the cost, the damages, and if you were to sort of invest in smart infrastructure, in resilient infrastructure, my educated guess is that perhaps the cost of this investing in infrastructure, resilient infrastructure, smart infrastructure, health infrastructure, is going to be significantly less than what the damages we incur year after year as a result of these extreme weather events. So I think that is very important for each government to pay attention to the resilient infrastructure. The third point I would like to mention is that in countries like India, we have this huge water scarcity. Large parts of the country are actually suffering from this water scarcity, and I think we have to create this awareness as far as the water usage is concerned, that we have to use water judiciously. So as and when the rainy season comes, we should be encouraged, all household must be encouraged to store water. That has to be done as a mass movement, at least in this country. And the other thing which I have a suggestion for practically all the universities, because the universities have that research infrastructure, and they can guide the communities around them in using the waste, the degradable waste at least, for either converting into compost or to create, this gas, using some biogas treatment plants. And this technology is not uh, very sophisticated. This can be made available, and our university, for example, have trained some of the farmers in the neighborhood, in how to, effectively treat the farm waste, in producing, the compost and
That's a big issue in Delhi and North India. Right.
yeah. So these are some of the points, but I think the basically every aspect of our policy has to factor in the environmental dimensions. I think it's high time that all state governments in their uh, plans, budgetary plans, factor in the environmental dimensions.
Thank you.
Very
Yeah,
important.
before the next speaker speaks, in continuity with what Dr. Jain said, I really endorse every point that he has said, and I'd like to add, I was in Netherlands for a year in an assignment. I found the nation had 2 million people lesser than the number of the bicycles. Can you believe that? There are more bicycles than human beings in Netherlands. Nobody steals a bicycle. Everyone moves from one part and keeps it to the other part of the city. Government has kept bicycles in every corner. And for distances of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 kilometers, they are riding bicycles. I have seen I've seen the University of Amsterdam Vice-Chancellor, they call it Provost, coming on a bicycle. We can't think of it. Here we have made the bicycle the vehicle of peons and housemaids and drivers and all that. We have given a class to it. So that's one point. And rainwater harvesting, very significant, very important. Every university and college must begin and then go up to the families. And even the families will gain. Rainwater and solar energy harvesting on the terrace of every home can be an easy thing. And the last thing, west to best, what is said, we have just started, sir, producing gas from the food waste. There are 4,000 students on campus. Every day there is a huge amount of food waste, and that we should actually reduce it, but there is a huge amount of food waste. And even the chikla and all that, covers of vegetable and all that. So these all go to produce a gas, and it is very cost effective. The total cost of gas is actually, the installation cost is far lower than the gas we get over a period of time. So I would like to endorse you with examples.
Thank you. I would like to request Dr. Azra and Dr. Norzila to put points. Then I'll come to Dr. Bashir to maybe conclude the entire discussion. Quickly.
Okay.
Points, basically.
Okay. I have few points here. I mean, the questions should go to the policy, right? The policy maker, the government. But I would like to highlight it's not only the policy maker here. The point is should also go to the community, including the industries. Okay, because of what? Because our nature has its own carrying capacity. If let's say we have 200 factories or small area, then if they are allowed to emit, do the emission, making the carbon emission at a time, they are still like comply all the regulation, but still we have the carrying capacity, okay, the limit of carrying capacity of our nature, the water, the air and everything. So again, nothing is free. Whenever we take something from the nature, we must pay back. Okay, so actually by enforcing the regulation from the maker, from the government, it also will help the industry to lower the carbon reduction. Okay. And also, I also like to, I also agree with Prof. Now, we must invest in resilience because we can start again to redevelop actually, okay? Instead of staying what we are right now. So we are staying again, look at what happened after the coronavirus has made changes to the and we need to make investment on the pollution control. We must dare to do in infrastructure. Okay, if we invest in that, then probably we can reduce the economic I mean the ways, the economy, the money to into redevelop our country due to the devastated disaster, for example. Okay, and the third one is like for the government, I would like also to like to suggest a reward system. Okay, if we give the reward to the people likes to get money, to get recognition. Okay, so we learn from that. The government can give them best management practice, for example, green label, green industry, green product, so that they get encouraged. Is what recognition they given to them, and from there they will work more and also try to protect the nature, even though they are at first, but actually let become habits. Okay, and also I agree with Prof. Chowdhury just now about we need to share transport. Okay, nowadays we can share transport, we can do e-shopping, we can do digital education, and also we can do the rainwater harvesting, solid waste composting, and also try to reduce the carbon emission. Okay, from our daily life. I think yeah, I would like to conclude here. Everything must go somewhere. That is the everything is connected to everything else. The first law of ecology, and the second one, everything must go somewhere. So whatever not belong to the earth, not belong to the nature, they must go to us, and it will get back to us. Okay, so yeah, so we actually must get to know the earth, get to know the ecology, the ecosystem, and then whatever we have spent, whatever we have invest, then we get back the in. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you.
Dr. Norzila, some 5 point or 10 bullet points.
Okay, thank you. My answer might be not more different than my peers. As she told just now, policy and laws already in place. I believe all countries we do have policy, but please take a positive move from this COVID-19 event as a very good move to support all the policy and laws that already in place by the government. Industries, community, we must put high awareness towards all these in place laws. Second things, I do not deny that certain industries in Malaysia, they are practicing using alternative energy like digesting food waste, digesting gas sludge to be the renewable energy. These efforts are very good, and the government already actually give certain reward for certain industries. They already turn up to green energy. My third point is that emphasize the recycling from homes, because from homes and then it goes to institutions in full, because we know that the landfill is no more sustainable. If the landfill can contaminate, is the landfill having problems, all water course will be contaminated. And then my fourth point is that because as an environmentalist, I do practicing greens. Like I have my own home rainwater harvesting for, for watering vegetables, plants, and then this practice we must do. If everybody did so, we are not depending so much on the treated water provided by the water authority. So we can save water that we use in our homes. And then practicing the small scale composting. It is not hard. Only do the backyard composting. Whatever leftover food, we can go for composting. And then at the university level also, each of the buildings, they must their usage of electricity must closely monitored, so then they can compete each other to reduce their billing. So once the building each of the buildings can bid for lowering the tariff, so the rewards maybe can go to all occupants in the buildings. It's not only in terms of the financial rewards, and these are the most easiest attempt. I think not all attempts should be conducted by the government. If we can change our daily life to conserve the environment, I believe environment could be more sustainable in the future.
Thank you. Dr. Bashir, if you can conclude the entire discussion, maybe and giving your bullet points, because most of the points are already covered. Maybe just conclude.
Yes. Thank you very much. I think very good point shared with my colleagues here, with the partner. Is really very good point. So I want to conclude this is by triangular. Triangular, there is actually three parts that we have. We have the policymaker, the government, we have the public, and we have the education. And all the comment that we raised here is under those. So for policymaker, the government must go for sustainable, green technology and cleaner production. All of what we talk about transportation, biogas production, harvesting, what
Right.
all of this one about moving and investing more into sustainable green technology and cleaner production. Second, I'm coming to the public. Public need to play their role by doing. Technology is available, educational program is available. They need to take the role and take personal action to help the government to achieve the target. And the third one is the education. Our target now is not, in addition to the educational programs, is to go for more creative thinking and to have more creative research that can contribute to solve the problem of environment and energy. And without that one, the government cannot move much, because we have to come with more creative solution to help the government to go for more sustainable and green technology, which later will be implemented by the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, experts joining from Malaysia. I want to thank and announce for our viewers that Tun Hussein, Honor University and Policy Times will be coming up with a series of discussions on the sustainability issue. Tomorrow we'll be back again, dedicating our crucial 2 hours of a week on the environment and sustainability issue. I want to give a very special appeal to our viewers. You must be watching a lot of television debates and all, with some dirty and not so important issues every day, especially in the Indian media channels. I want to urge and request you, watch some sensible shows which gives you knowledge, which gives you direction. Because in countries like South Asia, a lot of Islamophobia topics and TV debates, topics are almost non-relevant for the society. I would request, let us start asking questions to our anchors. Why have they chosen a topic which is of not so important for the country, for the community, for the society? And so I want to request everyone to ask governments or policymakers, how many schools have you created? How many colleges have you created? How many jobs have you created? How many businesses have you empowered? So let us start asking basic questions, relevant questions to our viewers. And starts with you. As a virus from China can isolate the entire world, a positive action from your end can also change the world. It is as much true for the climate change, also true to change the society. Let us start asking the right questions. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. To discuss on air.
Thank you. See you all.
Watching the Policy Times.
Yeah. Take care.